evening and welcome to the Talk Right podcast. I'm your host, Wayne Stennett, and with us tonight we have Tara Cremin with Kobo Writing Life. She's here to talk about new possibilities in all kinds of things, new hardware, new software. Nick, why don't you take over and finish the introduction so I can do some techno work.
All right, while you do that, actually, I'll jump in with an audiobook thing, because I've certainly had to re-record some things when I've called a Tara Tara or a Tara Tara. How do you prefer your name? You're muted currently, by the way.
I am sorry. Anyway, I say Tara Cremin, just
Tara.
I'm from Ireland and have an accent, but however you like to pronounce it is.
Oh, that's true. The Tar gets the R. All right,
so that's what it is.
We have Tara Cremin, who is the director of Kobo Writing Life, and we've had Tara on before. There's been a lot of new stuff between the last time we've had Tara here and now, and we were talking about some of them. So I want to dive right in and just ask, what are the things that have changed? What have you added to Kobo Writing Life in the last year?
So with Kobo Writing Life, we're always working on some stuff in the background. So I believe maybe I talked about this last time as well, but we have got audiobook publishing capabilities through Kobo Writing Life. So you can publish both your ebooks and your audiobooks in one easy place. There's no exclusivity required. You can set the pricing in 16 currencies, set a pre-order, everything. And we process all of the content in-house. So your audiobook can be published like within 24 hours, which is probably one of the fastest in the business, which is really, really great. And then in addition to that, we've been really focusing on the subscription market, that different kind of readership that wants the all you can consume model. So we have been rolling this out in select territories. We started off in Europe, and now we've been rolling it out in our kind of main English areas. So in 2020, we launched Kobo Plus in Canada, and then last year we launched in Australia, New Zealand, and more European territories as well. So it's in 8 territories right now. And the big thing with this is that it's non-exclusive. It's a subscription platforms where you can opt your books in. So I always think if you're a publishing wide as an author, I would just opt it in if you're publishing in every geo, because it really is just getting your books in front of a different type of reader, this subscription reader that wants to sort of consume everything that you have that they can. They tend to sort of, follow the feel of the book and the genre rather than kind of patiently waiting for an author to release a new book. They just want the next thing. So we've been working on that, and it's been going tremendously well. And then in addition to all of this as well, we really want to make our analytics a bit better. I know that authors are really data hungry. So we have been working a lot on our dashboard at the moment to combine all of their audiobooks and ebook sales in one easy place. So there's like a nice graph where you can see how your sales are doing. One of the newest things that we've added to this dashboard is the ability to see your pre-order numbers, which I know is really important. I think it was probably one of the top asks that we had from authors. And we've also added the feature where you can download an exportable CSV file or an Excel file. So you can actually download your live data, and you don't have to wait because we don't send them. We upload your sales reports once a month in the payment information section of your account. But this lets you download kind of more like a more up-to-date data, like just to give you a live overview. So you can sort of see how your stuff is doing kind of regularly on a pretty live basis. So so we have ebooks and audiobooks at the moment, and we're working on then adding the Kobo Plus stats to this, because I know that that's so important for authors to be able to see how their books are doing in the subscription service. It's one thing to trust me that it's doing well, but we want to also show you the data as well on a live basis. So yeah, I think that's everything on the Kobo Writing Life side that I can think of off the top of my head. And I can tell you about some of the Kobo initiatives also, if that's helpful, or do you want me to wait?
Well, I think I've got a lot of questions about,
sure.
about the Kobo Plus and these subscriptions, because I don't remember discussing subscriptions last time. I think the number one question people are going to ask with a subscription-based service, like if you have a book that a la carte's for $20 and someone gets it as part of the subscription, what do you take home?
Right. So it is a revenue share model. It's very similar to the way a lot of the other subscription services work. So in each geo, we have the total number of subscribers. So we have all of the amounts that they've subscribed in a certain month. So this makes our sort of total pool, for lack of a better term. So a total pool of money. One of the main differences then that we do is that we calculate the minutes that your book are being read. So it's how long your book is staying open. It allows us to calculate ebooks and audiobooks sort of at the same rate. We can treat them all the same. It also reduces a lot of gamification that, you know, can be apparent on kind of other subscription platforms. So what we do with this revenue pool is then we divide it by the total number of minutes that has been read in that month. And then that gives us our value per minute. And then this is multiplied by the total number of minutes that your book has been read. And then the authors receive 60% of that. So it's a little hard to follow along when I'm just saying it, but sometimes it's easier to see it written down. We have lots of good help documentation that makes it pretty clear and easy.
But it's so someone's got a bunch of borderline novellas. They're not going to make as much if someone has the same amount of novels.
Exactly. It is sort of, you are getting your money's worth more on the longer content. And with that, we do see box sets doing extremely well. Box sets already do very well on Kobo. Our readers really enjoy them, purchasing them. And then we're also seeing this reflected in the subscription platform as well, that it is sometimes some of the top reads that we see. But something to keep in mind also when we're doing minutes read is that you're also getting paid for rereads. So it's the whole time that the book is being open and held, you know. So anytime somebody else is, you know, has downloaded it and want to read that novella again or read that chapter again, you're also getting paid for that as well.
Really? I've never heard of that ever. So if somebody reads your book 3 times, you'll get a portion 3 times.
Exactly. It's all about like the time that your book has been open and the time that a customer has spent on it. That's
different. Wayne, do you have any questions? Because I've got a bunch. You're muted. All right, well, Wayne unmutes. Let me ask, have you considered, that's right. Are audiobooks available a la carte though?
Yes, audiobooks are available a la carte. And then it's sort of, Kobo likes to take what we call a globally local view of book selling. So we are a global company. We sell everywhere. I mean, I think with some of our authors, their maps are showing that they're sold books in 160 odd countries. But we do understand that there's local nuances to the different ebook markets. It's why we have colleagues on the ground in Europe in different areas that are very focused on them. So our Kobo Plus model and our audiobook model, they're not exactly the same in every single territory. So in some territories, there's a la carte audiobooks, and then there's Kobo Plus audiobooks. And then in some areas, there's Kobo Plus audiobooks, there's a la carte audiobooks, and there's a subscription audiobook. So it really differs on the region. But just they will always keep the a la carte option for the audiobook purchasing in addition to any subscription option.
Sorry, I had a technical issue. Actually, it's not a technical issue. I just can't find things on the screen because I can't see very good. But anyway, going back to Kobo Plus, I look forward to getting at the end of the month that total number of Kobo Plus downloads. And is there any plan to make that more available on a faster, like live?
Absolutely.
So it's time, so it's up to date with the sales.
Yeah, what we would like to do is have this fully integrated into the sales dashboard, so we can give you a more live. It would have to be then an estimate, because obviously we're calculating the value at the end of each month, and then it's also different depending on the subscribers differ from region to region. But we can give you sort of a pretty educated estimate. So yes, we are planning on kind of including that a bit more up to date, or at least even integrating the sales reports into a more readable space, so you can have them and easily compare with your ebook sales to see what you're doing. So I never like to give timelines. It was a little bit more complicated than we thought it was when we were building this, but the team are actively working on that at the moment. So we hope to have it very soon.
That'll be great. Yeah.
So here's something, because you're doing a lot of things that that Amazon does, but I like already what you're saying. Like some of these, I'm like, that's actually better. But have you considered something where someone can get the ebook and the audio for a reduced amount if they do both?
Definitely kind of consider all of these things and would never say no to any suggestions. It's not something we have at the moment. I know with the cost between the ebook and the audiobook, we don't have it right now. However, having a subscription service like Kobo Plus, where somebody could subscribe and have a different tier where they get both the e and the audio in Kobo Plus, that sort of would allow them to do that. So yeah, that is in certain areas right now, but not in everywhere. It depends on the geo. But
and I guess a lot of people would say, well, if I'm with Findaway, why would I go directly to Kobo? And I'm wondering that if you do go directly to Kobo, do you have access to some kind of deals or special pricing where you can get your audiobook on a list or something for the month?
yeah, we have promotions that are available just for our Kobo Writing Life authors. So if you're familiar with Kobo Writing Life, you might already know that we have this, it's kind of like the worst kept secret in the world, this promotions tab that everyone knows about, but just you have to ask for, just because we have authors all over the world, but we're primarily doing promotions in the English language first. So that's why we just sort of enable it as we go. So we have these for ebook promotions a lot, and what we're planning on doing is integrating audiobook promotions to be part of this as well. But in the meantime, we're actually running the audiobook promotions through a mailing list. So if anyone is interested to be on this mailing list, they can email the team at writinglife@kobo.com and we can add you. So we have a romance promotion that sort of runs every month. It's like a romance escapes. And then we do different seasonal promotions. So we just had a KWL specific one in September. We'll have sort of end of the year ones that will participate in, you know, audiobook month in June is a big one as well. So there's lots of different things. And in addition to that, you have access to my team, which they're really dedicated in helping all of the authors succeed. And, you know, they maintain the same sort of ethos that I do, in the sense that it's a partnership. So we want you guys to succeed because that's when we succeed. So as a sort of additional aspect of coming direct, my team can also make promo codes for any books. So we can do this for audiobooks and for ebooks. So that might be a great way of showing you what's or showing your readers what's available. And with the audio promotions, one thing that's kind of unique that we do as well that we don't do with ebooks is that we actually have shareable social assets. So you can kind of have these Kobo audiobook, just insert your cover, and then that can be shared on whatever social platforms that you're using to promote.
That's great. One of the reasons I think a lot of people will stay with Amazon only or Audible only is just the exposure. And one of the best ways to get exposure outside of them, as you may know right now, is Chirp for audiobooks or making use of the Amazon KDP countdowns. So for each of these other stores, to have their own way of doing that, I think is a big inspiration for authors to consider going wide, as I am doing right now.
Totally. And it's definitely it's a growing market and it's just taking off. I mean, audio is such a buzz at the moment with all the changes and everything that's kind of happening in the industry. So it's a pretty exciting place to be. And even if you were like not wide at the moment, I think it's good to know what's out there for some of their future down the line. You know, it's you don't have to be one thing forever. I like how fluid everything is. You know, you can decide where you want to put your books. You can take as much control as you want over everything.
That's great.
How many countries are we up to now, Tara?
For Kobo in general, I think that we say we sell in over 190 countries, which I believe is maybe all of them in the world at this stage.
Jordan and I were looking at that last night, Jordan. And Jordan's my daughter. She's also the producer of the show. But we were looking at the different marketplaces, and I'm getting Kobo Plus borrows and sales in Bulgaria, what were some of Estonia, just places that I hadn't even thought of since, you know, geography class in high school.
I know I'm well versed in the country codes, having to be familiar with them in the back end. I'm just like, oh, I didn't realize that this is a skill that I would learn as an adult.
I want to be a megastar in Estonia. It's always been one of my favorite little places. Anywhere that puts internet usage as a basic citizen's right. I'm like, okay, you're an awesome country. Let me ask about the audio. So if someone goes direct to you, do you have some kind of software gatekeeper to make sure that if a narrator records something in his bathtub with a USB snowball mic, that the quality is up to snuff?
We kind of, for audio, it's tough, right? It's harder because we have a team that spot check books, but it's not like the bandwidth to listen to every single file is quite difficult. So what the team generally do with publishing accounts is that they'll check a couple of books to make sure that they're going through and that they're okay. And after a certain parameter, it's sort of like, this is an account that we trust for the most part, that the quality will be there. And we also, we focus very much on sort of customer reported issues. So you can report issues like within the app right away, and then that goes directly to the content team. And we can be like, hey, there's a problem with your file. It helps us catch typos a lot. Like customers really like to point out the typos within files, and we can let authors know that there's certain things. But yeah, it is really just, you know, we can give best practices to make sure the audiobook is of the best quality. And then you can also upload a sample. So a customer can actually play the sample before even purchasing as well. So that is another way to make sure nobody is feeling duped in terms of the quality.
I like that a lot because Nick and I, we have a really, really good track record. And whenever we finish an audiobook, he sends it to me. I listen to it and read along with it for probably the 8th or 10th time. And he's always finding some little tweak that can be made. And I'm always finding something that he missed. And by the time it's done, there are no mistakes. We just don't have them anymore. We got it down to a science. 5 days, start to finish.
Wow, that is fast.
It's really fast. He does a quarter of the book a day. When he finishes, he sends it to me. I'm listening to it while he's doing the next quarter. I send him, and we just keep on going right through the end, and then exchange notes, and everything's done. Not every narrator does that, I'm sure.
I can't imagine they do, unfortunately. I wish that there was this much attention to detail. It would make everyone's lives a little easier.
Well, we both have like minds, and we've, after how many books now? 32, Nick?
You're the one that's going to have to tell me that. I do have other authors, although sometimes it doesn't seem like I do.
There are over 30 books. I mean, wow. We've developed more than just an author narrator report, and we've become close friends. We hang out, we talk on the phone, exchange ideas, and we collaborated on several books. Nick's also an author, but not everybody has that kind of a relationship with their narrator, and that's not good.
No, I love that though. I really I think it can be overlooked, the narrator importance to an audiobook. I was at a conference recently where readers were really, there was sort of a moment where it was like, put your hands up if you follow a narrator and read everything that they, or like listen to everything that they read. And like, I think probably the majority of the room put their hands up being like, yeah, we follow certain people around and we like this narrator for anything. And I'll listen to him narrate the phone book. You know, it was that sort of comment. So yeah, there's a real, a reader dedication there as well, or listener, I should say. They're both the same.
Let's hear your telephone book narration, Nick.
Well, it's funny you use that because that's sort of a term I have for a certain style of narration. I call it phone book narration, where
really?
Everything is just so flat you might as well
just read monotone.
Yeah, I'm just like, no characters, no.
Oh, Nick, I'm sure you could bring the phone book to life.
Depends on the names. I'm only as good as my material. Well, I'll tell you what, before I dive into another thing that I've been taking notes here, but do we have any questions on the YouTube channels?
Well, that's what was causing the technical problem.
That's what caused the glitch. Maybe I
didn't have enough bandwidth for both
All right. Well,
hosting
then
this and that.
you ask the next questions and I will go there.
So where do we go from here, Tara? You didn't make it to NINC, so I wasn't able to pick your brain in person. So
I didn't. My colleagues were there instead. They were there to represent in karaoke, I think, and keep our I was going to say good reputation, but I don't know. I think I sang a lot of karaoke the last time I was there, so I don't know if it was a good.
Did you see any of the videos from that?
I didn't actually. No.
There was some pretty good ones.
Nice.
I didn't sing, of course.
No, why not?
Well, I've got a face for radio and a voice for print, so.
Oh no, it's all about the performance with karaoke. It's
Yeah,
not
some of
about
the people,
the skill.
We had the big what was it called, Jordan? Meet Our Sponsors Happy Hour, and my company, Down Island Publishing, hosted that, and it was a way to bring all of the attendees together with all of the industry guests in the great big breezeway where we have lunch.
Oh man!
Instead of just in a tiny little room around the corner through the rainstorm. And that went over really good. And one of the prizes, we had 10 prize packages. And one of them was you get to sing the first karaoke song.
I don't know if that's a prize. That's really setting the tone for the evening.
Yeah, it absolutely did. The woman who won that, she didn't want to sing by herself. So Drafted Digital got their whole entourage up there and sang backup with her. It was really good.
Nice. But yeah, my team had a blast down there. They loved meeting everyone, and just yeah, favorite conference. They weren't going to say no to go into a beautiful beach in Florida.
And we got out of there just in time. I mean,
the timing was astounding. Yeah.
It was there were a couple of people who stayed the next day, and they were on the last flight out of Tampa Airport before they closed.
Wow.
So it was a lot of people got out just in time. But so what's coming up with Kobo? What's the future look like?
So the future is bright as always. We kind of continue to expand and build upon different partnerships that we have in our retail space. And I think people may not know a lot about the Kobo e-reading devices that we bring out. And I mean, I certainly consider ourselves to be extremely innovative in the e-reading space. They've changed a lot in the 10, 12 years that Kobo has been creating them. And we design and build everything ourselves in-house. And because we don't sell anything but ebooks and audiobooks, we're very focused as a company on the digital reading experience and wanting to make it the best that it can be. So the latest device that we have released is called the Cobo Clara 2E. And what's really special about this is that it's our very first device that is been made with 90% ocean-bound recyclables, recyclable plastics. So we really want to try and make our mark in the kind of areas of sustainability when it comes to our devices. And it's just a really great one. It's waterproof. It is up to 2 meters. I checked the spec for you, Wayne. So I don't know if that's
that's good. That's at least good for snorkeling. You could take it with you while you're snorkeling and follow a terrain map on the reef.
Exactly. Yeah. Maybe not for your scuba diving, but you could certainly take it with you snorkeling. But this device also has ebook and audiobook capabilities in the one place. So you can connect to your Bluetooth headphones or your Bluetooth speakers to access your library for both. A couple of our devices have that now as well. So that's the Kobo Clara 2E. So the 2E is the 2 for eco. The more eco-conscious device is how we are.
I really like that. I can hear all the tropical authors going, yay.
How large is it?
I don't have I actually, I have the specs up. I could tell you without showing you my hand. Give me 2 seconds. Oh, it has a 6-inch screen. So it's an e-ink Carta 1200 touch screen. It also has dark mode, and it includes the Comfort Light Pro, which is, how it can shift to that orange light. So when you're reading at night, it's not going to give you the blue light that can actually keep you awake. It's more of a subtle read. I really like it because you can just read with the lights off and then just use this as a really subtle thing. And it also, all of our devices too have overdrive access built into them. So you can also access your library system. All you need is a library card number to be able to get books through your device. And then some of the other ones we have, so I have the Kobo Ellipsa, which is one of the larger ones here. But what was sort of very different about the Kobo Ellipsa is that it was our first device that this also has eBooks and audiobooks, but it also has note-taking capabilities. So you can actually take notes within your file. You can mark up your EPUBs and everything's integrated into Dropbox. It's making me give it a title. But so yeah, like you can draw, write notes, do everything and mark up. So if you wanted to share any files, if you were editing them, you can mark up your EPUBs, sync it with Dropbox and kind of do it very easily. So this is sort of the larger version device. It was the biggest device that we've ever created. And then after this one, we have a sort of smaller device, which I think is also maybe a 6-inch, which is the Kobo Sage. And that also has note-taking capabilities and audiobooks. Oh, it's 8-inch, sorry. The Sage is an 8-inch. I believe this is a 10-inch. So you can kind of compare the difference. Huge. Yeah, I like it because I take all my notes with it while I'm just,
And Carrie, if you make
that note-taking, that would be ideal for like book clubs.
Totally,
so
totally.
to have the question. Keep your notes and flip to page whatever, and right there's your notes right there.
Now, is it possible to, here's my fantasy, that if you are a Kobo Writing Life person and you have one of these pads and you've got an EPUB uploaded and you paid for an expensive editor and a proofreader, and 6 months in, someone finds 2 typos, can you go in and make the changes yourself, or do you got to go back and reformat and all that? You
got to reformat the file originally. See? I know. That's a great idea, though. I will take
you an idea.
I know. I'll take that one back to the team. That
Atticus is looking better and better.
Let me check. I don't think we have any questions yet. B for Bell says hello.
Hi.
But that's it. So we got to keep asking here. Let me ask about the newer one. So it's only a 6-inch. Is the newest one pretty small?
Yeah, so it's the second generation of one of our most popular ones, which is the Cobo Clara HD. So it's a 6-inch, which is sort of your standard e-reader size, just sort of compact. It's pretty good. The difference really between the Clara and the Sage is the materials that they're made with, but then also the Sage has the buttons that we have brought back sort of on the side here. So you can turn page by like touch screen, but we also integrated the buttons back because that was sort of an ask. And I personally, physical buttons to change the page, which I personally like to use. I like to do both, but I feel like buttons make sure I'm not like skipping too many pages or anything. But all in all, it's just a kind of a way to show, and these devices, if you have Kobo Plus in that area, you can access Kobo Plus as well. So when I talk to Kobo Writing Life authors, I kind of describe the 4 types of readers that their books are now available to. So we have your sort of traditional reader, the person that is kind of buying books, buying eBooks online and reading them. And then there's your subscriber, you have your listener, and then you have your borrower with your person that really goes to the library and takes books out from there. So all of those readers are served in each Kobo device. So we try and make sure that they're kind of customizable to however you want to read. So again, back to the ethos that we really just, we're not trying to get our customers onto our site to then upsell them anything. It's all about just kind of, or like to sell them a different product. It's all about making the digital reading experience the best that it can be and kind of the smoothest that it can be.
Now, you've mentioned library twice now, and a lot of our viewers are going to be, it's an ebook or it's an audiobook. It's not a library book. And a lot of people just don't understand that you don't even have to drive to the library anymore. You just go to your local town library online and borrow an ebook or audiobook digitally without having to even get in your car. And that just floored me when I learned that. It's only been a year or so since I found out.
It's very easy, and it's definitely something that throughout the pandemic, I think people really learned about libraries when they were stuck at home, and the digital stores were open, but their bookstores weren't. And I think that the librarians definitely, the libraries served people very well when they were stuck at home, so they were able to access digital ebooks and audiobooks. So when you're publishing through Kobo Writing Life, if you want to get your book into Overdrive's library system, you can do it very easily through the rights and distribution section. All you need to do is set a library price, and then it gets distributed through for you. So yeah, it's pretty easy, and we've seen the kind of popularity for indie titles just kind of continue to grow throughout these past couple of years.
Yeah, it's the future for indie publishing is just, I forget who it was. I was listening to one of the presentations at NINC. I think it was Kevin Tomlinson with Drafted Digital. And he was saying that just 2 years ago, when you mentioned the word publishing, then the natural tendency for the person you're talking to is to think traditional publishing versus indie publishing. Now, when you say publishing, it's the other way around. They think indie publishing versus traditional. And it used to be the school of thought was, if you couldn't get a traditional book publishing contract, you indie published. Now it's, if you can't indie publish, you traditionally publish because you lack the skills or the technology. And that's gone away with all the different marketing tools available through not just Kobo and all the different retailers, but also individuals and businesses are growing up around this support system. And the growth has just been phenomenal just in the last couple of years. And I don't see it slowing down any.
No, I mean, again, it's back to that fluidity. So we're seeing more and more people become hybrid. So maybe you want to go the traditional route with a certain series that you have. Maybe there's something that you just kind of really want to lean on the publisher for. But I think what authors sort of fail to realize sometimes is that you are still doing the marketing, like you are still doing the work, regardless of how your book is published. So a lot of it is, do you want to control the speed that your book is published? Do you want to sort of maybe make money more quickly upfront by having those monthly payments when you're taking the control over it? Or do you want to sort of have this slower pace where you're maybe waiting a year, 2 years for your book to come out? So, but I think that there's room for this back and forth. I think indies, a lot of the authors had been traditionally published at some point and learned a lot along the way, and are using that to then start their own companies and start their own kind of small presses, or even if it's just their own author publishing company. And then I think that they're, taking that learnings, and then, like you said, the traditional publishing industry is also learning from the indies, because indies jump on new trends more quickly. We talked about subscription services. Indies are the one that are jumping on this because they see the opportunity. They're not afraid of trying something out if it means that they can get to another reader. And I think that's, it's always very exciting.
Yeah, traditional publishing houses, they're not open to new anything. They want to keep doing everything the same way they did it in the 1800s. But yeah, it's come a long way, and I don't see the future being any less bright. In fact, if anything, I think it's going to be better. There's going to be more advantages for indie authors, more opportunities, and it's just, everything's looking really good.
Let me ask a question. Because I think we tore through some stuff early on because I talk so fast.
Really fast.
But
sorry, I also talk very quickly. So sorry.
Well, I would say, give us like a concise description of what Kobo Writing Life is versus Kobo Plus, because I'm guessing one has more to do with subscribing and specials and things, and the Writing Life is, well, you tell me.
Yeah, so maybe it might help to sort of give a little background about what Kobo is. So Kobo is part of Rakuten. Rakuten is our parent company, which is a Japanese e-commerce giant. You might be familiar with them as, they're quite well known for the Rakuten.com in the US, but they're also a sponsor of the Golden State Warriors. So that's always a fun little thing that people recognize. So Kobo is one part of the kind of digital media section of Rakuten, as Rakuten have these arms in lots and lots of different areas of e-commerce. So we're kind of selling, we're their digital book arm. And Kobo Writing Life within that is a way for authors and publishers to get their books onto Kobo to sell, and also through to our partner retailers in addition to that as well. So Kobo Writing Life is sort of like the distribution option to get onto Kobo. And then Kobo Plus is the subscription model that's in certain areas. So in Canada, we have Kobo Plus. It's in Australia, New Zealand, Belgium, the Netherlands, France, Italy, and Portugal. So if you're a customer in any of these countries, you have the option of signing up for, I think it's $9.99. Actually, it's all different currencies, so one of them has to be $9.99 a month for all you can read or listen to. So then you can sign up and have, as a customer, access to this library, but you can also purchase books as well if you want. So through Kobo Writing Life, you can opt your books into Kobo Plus if you'd like. No exclusivity. I think that's kind of the main thing that I should probably stress a ton, is that it's kind of against our ethos to really ask authors for exclusivity. We think that you should be publishing your books in as many places, just to however anyone wants to read them, so that you can reach your readers. So we also built out the distribution to Kobo Plus to try and enable the authors to have as much control as possible. So you can remove your books at any time. There's no restriction. I mean, obviously, I'd encourage you to leave them in to gain traction. But we also allow authors to select the regions that they want to put their books through. So, you know, maybe you're a bit hesitant about putting something forth in Canada, our biggest market, but you could try it out in the Netherlands. So this was created in the Netherlands. It's been there since 2017 now, I think. And it's been going really, really well. So yeah, there's always the option of trying some of these smaller countries, and you know, you never know, that might lead to sales, like you were saying that you have your sales in Bulgaria and Estonia. We have people that report on having sort of like a la carte sales in the Netherlands that they would have never had before, having them in the subscription platform.
You
So, you know, go ahead.
You left out one of the partnerships that I think is really cool. If you're listening to this, I'm talking to the audience now. If you're listening to this and you're walking through Walmart, stop and buy an ebook or an audiobook from Kobo.
Absolutely.
They're available through Walmart.
I know. I should have had that right at the top.
So Kobo Plus is kind of like Kindle Unlimited without forcing you to be exclusive, plus Audible without having to subscribe to that. So you can subscribe for this and you get page reads for free and you get audiobooks for free.
Yeah,
well, for free, for whatever the monthly cost is.
Yeah, it's a very similar business model essentially, but yeah, we wanted to take away the exclusivity to just allow you to have your books in as many places as possible. Yeah,
I didn't know it was audiobooks too. I knew it was ebooks, but wow. And I'm supposed to be the wide guy on top of everything.
Well, we haven't quite built out the audiobook part yet. That's coming for the Kobo Writing Life side. So maybe that's why you weren't aware. You can't see it just yet, but it is coming. So,
well, I have a question here. I'm looking at the time, so I think we have time for this one.
Sure.
As you're probably aware, a bit of big news in the ebook world in the last couple of weeks was that Amazon is finally caving to people complaining about books being read in their entirety and then returned. If someone has their book with Kobo, do you have limitations on returns, or can people read the entire thing and just return it?
We do have a return policy that I think if you kind of go to kobo.com at the bottom, you can sort of see the return policy. Off the top of my head, and don't quote me on any legal policy, but I do believe it is like a 14-day return, something similar. So, but we haven't had reports of the same dissatisfaction. But yes, we have a sort of return policy that's available on kobo.com.
Gotcha.
But
And
is there a mechanism in place that would prevent somebody from buying the book, reading all of it, returning it, and then buying the second book and reading all of it and returning it? That's the problem that Amazon had for quite a while.
Yeah, I think that there's definitely that we have a lot of checks and balances in place on the back end for that sort of stuff, and we try and make sure that we're not having fraudulent purchases. We want to make sure that they're like legitimate and that we're pleasing the customers that are kind of wanting to read those books.
And the audiobooks, let me go back to that, because I was thinking, well, Audible, you pay your $14.95 or what have you, and you only get a couple books a month. Can you listen to as much as you want?
So it depends if there is, I know we have so much to offer. I think the easiest way would be to go to kobo.com in your area and see what there is to browse. But in general, so we do have a similar monthly audiobook subscription. So if you were to subscribe, you would get a token for one book a month. Oh, okay. However, if you were in a region that had what we call Kobo Plus Listen, then you could access audiobooks within part of Kobo Plus. So they are kind of slightly different. So it depends on your region.
Great. Okay. Let me see. I don't think we have any questions.
You must really keep your programmers real busy.
Oh yeah. We just had a 2-day workshop last week, actually, where we got everyone in person, and it was all of our programmers and our product team and our content team all in one place. And it was great to be able to sort of share so much feedback directly from authors. It was wonderful timing because it was right after NINC. So the team came back and they were like, we got a lot of feedback from people. But it was also great to celebrate that it's, they're building such a good product as well, and like I like to make sure that they hear that, because sometimes they just hear about the bugs that we like to highlight for them. But we definitely keep them busy. They're a small team as well, but they're also really dedicated to this. A lot of people that work at Kobo are just book nerds that really enjoy working on reading products and making things better. So it's always a pleasure to sort of work with people that have a shared goal overall for the products that we're working on.
We have a pause, and I'm out of questions. You're so good at this.
Is nothing on YouTube?
There wasn't last time I checked. I have to refresh. I'm not as good at the YouTube check as Wayne.
Well, if anything comes up after the fact, you can always email the team at writinglife@kobo.com. And if you wanted to create an account, you can do it at kobo.com/writinglife. And then we also have a podcast that goes out every 2 weeks. We don't do the visuals like you guys. You guys are way ahead with the being on camera. We just have the audio that goes out every now and again. And I'd say if you're interested, we had our 300th episode maybe a month ago now. And for that, we wanted to sort of do something special. So we celebrated and we wanted to show the trajectory of how a book gets published. So we actually talked to a lot of the teams that work differently, work within Kobo. So we talk to our content team and they tell you about how they check the titles, and then it goes through, and we talk to our promotion team and they tell you about how they pick the titles. So I would say have a search for that if that's something that you're interested in as well. Just give you some insights into the behind the scenes, and you get to hear me for like the first 2 minutes, but then I'm not in it anymore, so it's fine.
Now, you talked about the promotions team. So like in any given month, what sort of promotions might you have?
Oh, there's lots of stuff. We kind of tell people it updates maybe on a weekly basis. So what I would say is to check the promotions tab. Maybe set yourself a reminder every couple of weeks to just go in and see if there's anything that really suits your books. Some of the permanent promotions that we have are around the free page. So there's a free page on kobo.com that's completely curated with Kobo Writing Life titles. We've definitely not seen a slowdown in free first in series working as a really solid marketing ploy. Again, the way, you know, we were talking about traditional publishers kind of being a bit slower to adopt these tactics. They're still a bit afraid of free, whereas I think the indies know the value in having that book that's free and that can lead into the second book read, especially if you have a series. So a lot of authors like to tie them in with BookBubs. So if you have a BookBub, I would say apply for this page, and then it also spotlights it. My favorite thing at the moment is that there's an open text field that we recommend people use so they can tell us about their book. So if it's, say, you had a new cover, or it's the first time that you've published widely, you know, you can tell us this. But what the authors have started to do, which I really enjoy, they send us jokes. And not saying that helps you get picked, but they do like it. So there was one that came in today. If you guys will let me tell you a joke.
Oh, absolutely.
A Roman walks into a bar, holds up 2 fingers and says, 5 beers, please. Terrible.
Nice.
But that gets your book, you know, it gets attention on your book when you're telling us a joke like that.
I remember having a string of failed BookBubs, and I put detailed, you know, this was voted top thriller in this in 2008, blah, 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 nothing. And I don't remember what I put, but I just put some stupid little snip, like one little sentence just to be an ass. And that one got it. So I'm like, okay.
I went almost a year without getting a BookBub, and I applied one time and I put in the comments section, any date is fine. After all, you're BookBub, just basically sucking up. And I got it.
You got to be creative, like just to change up the flow of things. So
I'm still writing a really long tail from an August 28th BookBub.
Wow.
And
wow.
It's absolutely incredible. It's paid for the cost of the ad 10 times over.
Oh, wow. That's very impressive.
Really, really doing well. And it's the first time I've done a free one since I went wide. I was always very leery about it because, you know, I got to get this big gorilla in the room to price match because they won't allow you to price it at 0. But it's doing absolutely great.
And again, I think, you know, I think I've talked about fluidity a few times, but your book doesn't have to be a perma-free. I think that's also a misconception. You know, it can be free just for a couple of days, just to have that BookBub, or even just for a week. We update our page on a weekly basis, so it would have to kind of stay free for that length of time. But yeah, it doesn't have to be something that's permanent. Like, you could try it out just for a little while. But then we also have promotions that are just not about free books as well. So we do a lot of seasonal things. We have VIP promotions, which are, I think, some of the ones that I'd kind of recommend authors to go for, because this is getting your books in front of our VIP readers. So these are readers that are paying an annual subscription to sort of get perks when they're reading. So we have loyalty points that are called super points. So the more that you read, the more points you get, and then these can be redeemed for more books. When you're a VIP reader, you earn more super points than the average reader. And there's a bunch of different perks as well. But some of it is that you have these promotions that are just for you as a VIP. So for an author, I always recommend going for these, because this is the sort of dedicated reader that you want to be following your books, or that you want to read your stuff, because they will probably follow you. They're really voracious. So you'll see those on the promotions tab kind of every other month or thereabouts. And then we do a lot of, I mentioned box sets being very popular. We have box set promotions that are just around that. With Kobo Writing Life, there's no higher price cap. So even if you're pricing above $9.99, you're earning 70% on that sale. So we do sometimes have authors that have Kobo only box sets to try and take advantage of the fact that they could do a mega box set bundle with 10, 20 books and price it accordingly without having to worry about really losing the value of anything. And then we have these promotions that sort of help get eyes on these titles as well.
I have a question. Because you are so wide across the country,
across the
world, I mean,
yeah.
rather.
World.
What I'd like to know is, what would you say are the top 3 non-English speaking countries in terms of sales that you see?
France is probably a top one for us, which maybe might be something that you'd maybe think about, especially with Quebec speaking French as well. So that would be a really strong region. Italy is a very strong region for us as well. We have several different partnerships there. We just launched a new partnership where we have kind of, it's like a different e-commerce hub to the customers that are there. And then one that might be surprising and that people don't really consider in the non-English market is Dutch. The Netherlands is a huge market for us. We've been there for quite a while. We have a very strong partner there, bol.com, and that's where we have our subscription service and different options. It's just an area that's very strong. They're very familiar with Kobo. So it's some of these countries we would have been the first sort of e-reader in the market, the first digital reading company. So we'd be very, very well known brand-wise in those areas.
Well, Wayne, how do your Dutch sales do?
Let's see. Usually either of the non-English speaking countries, it's either second or third.
Wow.
Behind Germany and France. Always ahead of all the other European countries, but it's usually Germany, France, and then Netherlands, or Germany, Netherlands, and France.
The first 2 books in my Deep series take place in the Netherlands Antilles, and on Amazon, I just don't, I think I've maybe had 10 Dutch sales in the life of the series. So this is making me think,
Yeah, quite a few. I would say probably 30% of my Netherlands sales are from Kobo.
And I definitely would say if you were thinking about coming to Kobo with any kind of Dutch set books or Dutch books, to definitely go into Kobo Plus there as well, because it's really interesting. What I've been sort of doing a little this year, now that we have all of these markets, is really looking at where our like different authors' books are being read in Kobo Plus. And it's so surprising that there's some of them that only have English books, but the Netherlands will make up 60% of their Kobo Plus earnings, and it's just very interesting to me because there's a strong English reading market and a Dutch reading market in that area. So yeah, it's an interesting one. It's one I wouldn't overlook.
France, Italy, and the Netherlands. And you didn't say Germany.
I mean, that's not to discount any other regions. Those are just sort of maybe the main ones that we're focusing on. And we have Kobo Writing Life colleagues on the ground there that are working on promotions for authors in those specific geos as well. So going back to what I mentioned about sort of a globally local view of book selling. So we have, we just newly hired somebody in the Netherlands, actually specifically for Kobo Writing Life, to build up that platform and relationship there with the local authors. So hello, Susan. And but I think that's not to say that there's not lots and lots of opportunities in the other languages. Those are just sort of the main areas that we see immediate opportunities.
So how many people are you going to bring next year to NINC?
Oh,
that's the big question.
I heard BookBub brought everyone. I was jealous.
BookBub had a huge team there. They had I think 5 people.
Yeah, we had 2. I mean, I definitely I'll be there next year for sure. For sure. I was double booked and couldn't make it, but we always bring 2. If I can bring more, I'll try for definite. Yeah, I mean, I would go to everything, but it's just it's hard. It's hard to.
It's a lot of traveling. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
How many conferences do you go to a year?
We really have. We took advantage of a lot of the online conferences, and some of the events are now still hybrid. So we probably did, and with the ones coming up for the end of the year, probably under 20, just my team. And I think in person, we've been to 5 or 6, actually, 7. We had 7 in person we'll have done. So a lot of them online, which is, it's really great. And I know it's not quite the same to have them online. I know perhaps people really want the in-person conference. So we're trying to balance as much as we can do with both of them, but it lets us, you know, participate in, we participated in conferences in Australia and New Zealand that are much harder to go to, you know, so it is nice having that hybrid option, and they're kind enough to accommodate us dialing in.
That's 7 is still 7 in person is a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
That's every 2 months at least.
No, well, unfortunately, everything gets stacked, so they all happen at the same time. So there's 2 in September, there'll be 2 in November. There was some earlier. Yeah, they tend to be toward the end of the year. So yeah, if we can do like 5 to 7 in person is my aim usually.
Well, Nick, do you have anything else?
Oh, you're muted, Nick.
I'm muted. I was saying I've run out of everything on my piece of paper here. I just did a refresh on YouTube. I don't see anything. I feel like we've covered a lot more ground than I expected. I didn't know there were so many little cool things you do.
So
no worries. Yeah,
are you leaning more toward wide now?
Yeah, I mean, I've been going that way. I feel like I need a little more. I've been
trying to convert everybody, Tara.
I well, did very well with Kindle Unlimited. Very well. It's scary.
That's fair. But why don't you? What have you guys got coming out? What's
that?
Sorry.
No, what'd you say?
Tara's frozen on my side.
Yeah, she's frozen on me too.
Oh no. Well, hi, Internet. It's been good. Well, this is, I mean, the fact that they have a version of Kindle Unlimited. I mean, honestly,
we talked about that last year when she was on.
Yeah. Oh, you're back.
I am back. Sorry about that. My internet knows it's towards the end. It was trying to just get me kicked out of the,
well, mine
the
said
show.
Unstable like 10 seconds ago. The fact that you've got one of the main obstacles, I think, to people like me is we see all this money that we're getting from Kindle Unlimited. But you know, if Barnes and Noble has their version and Kobo has their version and I think it would be. You don't
have to do it all or none. You can do it the way I did and release in Kindle Unlimited for 90 days. Man Overboard, my latest release on July 5th, earned a KU bonus July, August, and September.
Wow.
So you don't have to be just exclusive forever.
That's true. That's true.
And the Kobo Plus is really cool.
And it's, you know, it's your business at the end of the day. So you're going to do what makes sense for you. But I think just knowing all of the options that are available, like, so I think that's really important. So yeah, I thank you for letting me come on and talk about everything that we're doing. So yeah, you can make your decision that you want to make, and we can only tell you about what we're doing to try and help anyone succeed on Kobo. But
well, I've heard a lot of good stuff.
There are 1,000,001 ways to skin a cat. That's what it comes out to. Well, it's been great having you on again, Tara. We've only had, 2 now repeat guests.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Dan Mason, Cap Daniels, a good friend of ours. He was on our first show, and then he was on the first show of the second season. The first show of the third season with a new narrator. So we don't do repeats very often, but it's always fun to see what's new and coming up in the pipeline.
Can you bring me back so then I can be the #1 repeat person?
Oh, there you go. Next year, mark your calendars. Next October, we'll have you back on.
Definitely.
Well, thank you so much for being on with us tonight. And it was a pleasure having you. And we'd like to also thank our sponsors and supporters, Down Island Publishing, Tropical Authors, Pirate Radio, How Not to Sell, Latitudes and Attitudes, and I'm missing somebody, but it's not who I usually miss. Who is it? Oh, Aurora Publicity. Again, thank you, Tara. It's been great talking to you, and Nick, I hope you're going to be converting soon.
Well, and before we go, I should just say, especially since, just so you don't think I'm wearing an undershirt, I found my Tropical Authors shirt. Tropical Authors, we have so many people that live in Florida. We have so many readers that live in Florida. Tropical Authors has two co-op books out, Graceless and Timeless, and Shameless is coming, and there's apparently two more in the works. But Tropical Authors has decided that all sales of Graceless and Timeless, all royalties for the entire month of October, will be sending to a combination of charities to help with Hurricane Ian relief.
And these are wide books, Tara, so that you have them on Kobo. So if you want to push them a little bit and help us help the folks in Florida.
Absolutely.
It's I mean, it's devastating what happened down there, and it's just the least that we can do. As I'm a native Floridian, and a whole lot of our tropical authors are from that area, and it's just overwhelming the amount of devastation that happened down there, and we just want to support them any way we can.
No, absolutely. We'll definitely, I will first thing tomorrow bring this to our team. So it's very admirable doing work like that. I love seeing the indies kind of really using their platform to just do good in the world. It's really nice.
All right. Well, I sure do appreciate it. And Nick, as always, thank you for helping me out and getting me through the hard stuff.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
All right. Good night, y'all.